Hello, this is Gravity Challenged. Today I'm going to be showing you a build slideshow of Revell's LR4500R Maultier. When you open the box, the first thing you will notice is that there is a lot of parts, many of them very delicate. Be sure to use cutters or an X-Acto knife to remove them, otherwise they will break. First step is to clean the parts of any mold release agents. Dish soap or parts cleaner for this will work well. Remember, rinse off the cleaner to get rid of any soap film. Then let the parts dry. The plastic should look dull now with no shine. Now on to the building. I tend to jump all over the place when I'm assembling the model. Like I'll build some components first and then put them together. The first thing we're going to look at is the engine. It's really nice. A person that's into super detailing could probably do some really great things with this. Potential is there. Me, I'm just going to make it with the hood closed, so I'm not going to get too involved with the engine. The suspension is a bit tricky. It's easy to put parts in backwards or miss things, so pay close attention while you're doing this part. I put a couple of parts in backwards and had to tear them out again and put them back. It wasn't fun. Okay, once you've got the suspension assembled, you have to line it up. What I did is I put the inside parts of the road wheels on and then put them on top of my jig I used for putting the tracks together. It's just a glass plate with a metal bar in the back, but with the inner part of the wheels on, you can adjust the suspension until you get everything sitting flat. So it makes it a little easier than trying to adjust the little tiny posts coming out. Okay, they show that to glue the drive wheels and idlers into place at this point. I didn't do that. I left them just placed on so I could move them when I put the tracks on to adjust things better. That might work for you too. The next thing I went into was putting the track together. It's a tedious job, but it's not really all that difficult to do. I chose to paint the track first before assembling it, and when I went to do the gluing, I scraped off paint wherever glue would be going so the glue could stick the plastic together. Now you'll notice that thing I have there, the glass plate with the metal bar at the back, I'll use that to line up the track, and I'm using a glass plate because super glue, like for resin tracks, won't stick to it, and the model glue for the plastic models, that won't stick to it either. You'll get a little bit of a hole, but you can just pop it off with a scraper and X-Acto blade with no problem at all, which makes it a lot easier than if you used a plastic plate, for instance. Everything would stick to it. Now I'm on to the cargo box. That was very easy to put together. Everything fit well. I just had to hold it while the glue dried a little while, and no problems there. When you go to put the cargo box onto the body, you have to be very cautious that you line it up right, because if you don't, it's going to look really bad, and it's going to be harder and harder to fit things together. So that's an important step to pay close attention to, because it's easy to say, oh, this is easy, get distracted and just stick it on crooked. There's little like U pieces that go on as well over the frame, the chassis part of the vehicle, that attach to the bottom of the box. And there's like little tiny, you'll see these little tiny things coming out of the framework under the box. That's where those little pieces go into, the U's. So don't paint over that spot until the U's are in, and you're not really going to see them that much because it's underneath anyway. Okay, the next bit is the cab. It's a nice cab. It looks great inside. The seat is nice. It fits well. They even have decals for the dashboard, which is pretty nice, and you don't get that all the time. Usually you just have to paint the dials in, and it's tedious, and it never looks, with me anyway, it never looks as good as a decal. You might be able to do it, have it look better than a decal. I don't know. Now, if you want to put the driver figure in, you're going to have to leave the roof off. Just remember that. Don't put that in until the very last. The windows fit pretty decently. The windshield in the front, you carefully pop it into the frame. That's how well it fits. You don't even need to use a lot of glue. Just a little touch at the corners was enough for me to hold it in, which was really nice. So you don't see this big ridge of clear plastic roaming around the front of the cab. Spoil the looks of it. The side windows are good too. They fit nicely. The driver's side, I cut the piece so it looked like it was halfway rolled down. Now, when you're putting the cab together, you're going to find that there may be a few gaps, like around the doors and things like that. So don't paint the outside until you get it put together and have the pieces all fit nicely. Put a bit of filler in if you need to, sand it, get it fixed up, and then do your outside paint. With me, I did the whole cab, put it all together, and then stuck it on the chassis, which was already assembled, which worked great because I got to line up the fenders and that underneath it before, and then painted the whole thing as a unit, covered the filler and all that. It worked out well. Until you look at the instructions though, and you're not supposed to put the cab on until, let's see that, no. The cab goes on at the first step. Put the cab on first and then the box. What I did was I put the box on first and then I fitted the cab, which meant that I had to cut the steering shaft off. That's the part that comes up from the steering box, goes inside the cab, and steering wheel goes on it. I had to cut that off and reattach it because I couldn't get the cab on past the box onto that. So it was no big deal. It all worked out okay. But just the same, it's a lot better to do it the right way instead of the make it work way. Now, don't glue that steering wheel on though until you get the driver figure in if you're going to use him, or he's not going to fit under the wheel. I ran into that problem too. So that's something you might want to think about. The finished painting has been done with Humbrol paint. I used their overall sand, well, German overall sand, along with the German camouflage red, brown, and green. You can use any kind of paint you like. I just like the Humbrol paint, and I have a big box of this stuff. I also use Model Masters, Testers, all kinds of different paints. So I'm not trying to say get one or the other. It's whatever you're comfortable with using. They all work well. I don't use primer coat on these models. Like the armor models and that, I don't think I've ever primer coated any styrene plastic kit that I can remember. If I'm working on a resin kit though, no matter what it is, I primer coat it. Because if you don't, I experienced this once, and it's okay with an armored vehicle. It kind of helped, but the paint can sink into the resin and not be even. Like you can have one area that it sits on top and it dries a bit brighter, and another area that it's going to sink into the resin more, so it's going to have a duller look to it. I had that happen to me on one armor kit, and I said, well, it looks okay, but it's not what I really wanted to achieve. I just left it that way, and I wasn't really too happy with that experience. If it was like a car model or something like that, it would have ruined it entirely. Well, that's about it, really. You'll find that you're going to have a lot of leftover parts. That's okay, because this model was originally a cargo truck, and they added the new parts to it to make the Maultier version from it. So that's all. Enjoy the hobby, and yeah, I recommend this kit. Just when you're building it, don't let yourself get distracted, or you're going to have problems. I had a few because I got distracted. You have to pay attention, especially on that suspension. Okay, bye. Have a great time and enjoy yourself. Bye.